Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Quentin Q. Crisco, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Ron Luce. Bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
And welcome back to another episode of Bears on Tap. My name is Quentin Crisco. This evening, I am joined by Samir Patel and Brendan Shagru, and we're here to talk about getting ready for this next Saints game. You know, the Bears just played yesterday. Now we're on to our regular Tuesday show, on to next week already. But gentlemen, starting with Samir, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, doing great, man. Victory Tuesday, can't beat it, right? Man, it feels like Commanders Week is like a whole month. I'm exhausted. I hope we don't have to play them again anytime soon. But yeah, no, feeling great. I can't believe we're already on to the next game. So,
yeah, Brendan, how's your evening going?
Oh, evening's going great. It always feels better when you have a full work day of just, bask in Bears glory. I actually work with a Commanders fan too. So it was fun to rub his face in everything a little bit this morning. But I will say I give him credit because I know a lot of Commanders fans the last week have been just all over the Bears fans on social media. This guy's a class act. And he said immediately, he's like, yeah, you guys got jobbed by the refs. And I just told him, hey, ball don't lie when it comes to Jaden Daniels fumbling that ball. But yeah, I know we're just about ready to turn the page here. But man, what an exhilarating game to kind of come off down and realize that, hey, the Bears are over 500 for the first time in almost a full calendar year. Feels good.
Yeah, it's like, almost a calendar year. Because the last time when the Hail Mary happened, that was like week 7 or week 8, something like that. So yeah, it's right on that line there. But we're on to the New Orleans Saints, and the Bears are finally back home. It feels like forever since they've played a home game, probably just because the bye is in there. It was the Vegas game, the bye, and then this last game. So it feels like we haven't seen the Bears at Soldier Field in a long time, and I'm excited to see how they do coming back home now with some more confidence and some more kind of swagger going into it. And that, that place is going to be electric. You have to think.
Oh, that's a really good point, man. Because you're right. It's been 3 weeks, but remember the last time they did play at Soldier Field, there was a lot of uneasiness because they were 0-2, and like fans, of course, got into the game once the Bears actually started putting up points against the Cowboys. But the energy has had to have shifted like crazy from going 0-2 to now 3-2 and believing that you're on the precipice of becoming like a playoff contender. I am so excited to see how that home crowd responds to this team coming home.
Yeah. Now, Samir, did you have something to add?
I was going to say Bears game always electric, but we haven't really had one at home recently where the Bears are going to be favored by so many points. Usually, they're favored, but it's only by 3.5 or something like that. This is a game where fans are going to go in expecting to win, right? And expecting to see a great performance. That energy, I think, is going to be different than that nervous energy that you kind of get of like, yeah, it's a home game. I'm excited. We really need to win. I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see how the fans embrace this team here being probably 6-point favorites, something along those lines, to a Saints team that they're better than.
So the last time they were favorites like this, you guys want to take a guess at when it was?
Was it the Carolina game last year?
That's what I was thinking, but I wonder if it goes even further back.
So it's week 10, New England Patriots.
Oh,
they were 6-point favorites against the Patriots, and then they got dog walked that game. Like it was ugly, and that's I believe that's the one that led to Shane Waldron's firing.
Yeah,
I think so. I think that was the infamous one with Shane Waldron smiling at Caleb on the bench, and it was just like, this is not going well. But so, yeah, the Bears, I think they opened as 5.5-point favorites. I think I saw that earlier today. So it's going to be a pretty decent number there. And the Saints 1-5. Let's go ahead and get this graphic up here. Do you guys have any thoughts about what you're looking for in this game as far as like the Bears being able to carry anything over from their past win before we get into the roster too much.
I think like my biggest thought real quickly, we'll probably talk about it later, but just looking at the line, like the two tackles, Kelvin Banks, obviously like a big potential target that the Bears may or may have not have been looking at, I think it was one pick before. Colston Loveland. I haven't like paid too much attention to what he's doing. I think he's having a fine rookie season so far, but then you have Fuaga on the other side, and there's a lot of inexperience there. And I just wonder, with this Bears pass rush maybe starting to get something a little bit going from what we saw in the Washington game, and Dennis Allen understanding how to attack a lot of this line. I just wonder how those two guys specifically are going to hold up, because maybe the Bears have found something when it comes to the pass rush, and we'll see, if they try to, get them in certain mismatches and take advantage there.
Yeah, one thing that I'm kind of interested in that fits in the trenches, but like you're saying, Brendan, is on Monday night, the Bears were the more physical team in every aspect of the game. I thought that they hit harder, they blocked harder. Everything felt like there was more intensity coming from the Bears than Washington. And I feel like historically that's a culture thing in New Orleans, where, they might not always be the best at stuff, but their guys are always going to bring the juice and be hitting you, trying to out physical you. And like, I look at this like Trevor Penning is about as physical as a player gets. Kelvin Banks, very physical player. Fuaga, very physical. Eric McCoy, a very physical center. And on the D line, I mean, they're older. There's questionable talent there, but there's one thing I can tell you about the guys who I see here on the D line. They're not afraid to get physical with you, and they're big, powerful dudes. So, like, I'm curious to see how that plays for the Bears in this game, even though, Saints are 1-5. They're not good, but they've played everyone tougher than anyone really expected them to so far this year.
Well, I think one thing, I'm glad you guys brought up Dennis Allen, right? These are still a lot of his players, and the types of players that Dennis Allen likes are these big physical freaks, right? And so that's kind of what you have on that side of the ball. So I do think it's going to be a bruising kind of game. And Q, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. The Saints roster, when you kind of look at it, it's weird. They're like old in the places you'd want to be young, and young in the places where you'd want to be old. And their rosters kind of like flip like that, right? Like you've got this old running back, your best defensive players kind of on the other side of 30. But at the same time, your tackles are very young, your quarterback's very inexperienced. So it's kind of interesting. They do have some veterans. They have a nice mix of veterans and young players. I bet they just like those positions to be like swapped where the veterans and the young players are.
Yeah, and I mean, they're in my off-season series, looking at all the different teams in the NFL, it was like you could talk yourself into how this could be a good team. Like if you ignore the quarterback question and you're like, I can see Chris Olave having a really nice year, still only 25 years old, and being like a true number one there. Alvin Kamara hasn't broken down yet. So like maybe he's got another year in him. I like what they've had, some of the youth that's infused on this O-line. And the defense, I mean, they still have some big names where it's like, man, if they can just hang on one more year before falling off a cliff, I can see this team being good. Now, the issue with that is it never all works out the way you draw it up on paper when you're talking about that older players and like that much like salary risk that they have throughout their roster. But like, yeah, to your point, Samir, you can see some ways where it's like this spot could be a little dangerous. This spot could be a little dangerous. But at the end of the day, I'm also sitting here going, they're 1-5 for a reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But why don't we go ahead and jump into our first segment here?
The baddest man.
All right, and Samir, I'm gonna toss this one over to you first. Baddest man, talking the guy on the New Orleans Saints who at the end of the game, a Bears players turn around going like, "That's a bad man. I don't want to see him again." Who are you taking?
Yeah, I mean, look, looking at this roster, like I said, the positions that you kind of go to are like skill position players or the great edge rusher that you're worried about. Those guys are kind of, a little bit on the other side of the hill. So I kind of stayed away from those guys, and I went with probably another obvious one, but I went with Chris Olave. Him, I think, and Kamara are really the guys on the offense that kind of, I don't know, keep you up a little bit, or, you need to kind of see where they're at. And watching again last night, I mean, Nashawn Wright, he finds the ball, I guess, there's that, but he gets picked on. And if, depending on where they line him up, if he's on Olave somehow, if they move him around, do things like that, you might end up with some penalties, some big plays. So I do worry about that a little bit. You'd like to have Tyreek on him, or, kind of bracket him a little bit, because I think I'm not really worried about Cooks or Shaheed as much, to be honest, especially with Kyler coming back. So I would probably try to focus on Chris Olave and see what he's doing.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I think that's the best choice on this roster when I'm generally looking at is like Olave's a dude who I thought was awesome in the draft that he came out in. He came in the league, guns a-blazing. He was awesome as a rookie, second-year guy. Some injuries started to slow him down, but like he's been healthy this year, and he is a dangerous threat out there. But Brendan, where are you going for your baddest man?
You guys are not going to believe where I'm going to go for my baddest man.
I love it. Let's hear it.
All right. I like to play the narrative game a little bit. I like the storylines. I like just the mental aspect of certain matchups and certain games that come up on the schedule. And I am kind of scared for what Spencer Rattler might do this weekend. I know it's weird. I know it's probably unheard of, but guys, Spencer Rattler he was a Heisman favorite at Oklahoma back in 2021. Favorite. He was he was basically almost going to be the number 1, number 2 overall pick at the start of the season, and even into like mid-September. And then Caleb Williams comes along, and he's sniffing on his heels.
You're sure he didn't sashay?
Oh no. Well, maybe. I mean, we'll see.
We'll have to ask Ty.
I have not heard anything from any Sooner coaches, but look, Caleb Williams kind of took everything from Spencer Rattler. And I know that's not like fully apples to apples, because Spencer Rattler, his poor performance definitely played a role in him getting benched. But without Caleb Williams there, who knows what happens with his career at Oklahoma? He ends up having to transfer, goes to South Carolina, kind of has to go through a redemption arc because of not only his play, but the attitude concerns with him. I mean, really, this was a guy on the top of the world, and he had to rebuild himself all because of Caleb Williams. And now they face each other for the first time. And if I'm Spencer Rattler, I can definitely see myself. I would definitely be getting up for this game by saying, I am going to take it to the number 1 overall pick that should have been me at one point in time. And I'm going to show that I'm much better of a quarterback than anybody's been talking about. And I know he's had a good season so far, relatively speaking. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's got a 90 passer rating. His QBR is the exact same as Caleb Williams through 5 weeks. I know his EPA is not great, but he's starting to find something in New Orleans. And it's the classic trope of, okay, he's not the win because of quarterback yet, but he's certainly not the reason or the problem that the Saints are losing. And I know we can say that for a lot of passers, but I just can see Spencer Rattler having himself a game and surprising everybody and going toe-to-toe with Caleb. And at the end of the day, people saying, hey, this guy's not a bad quarterback. And maybe the Saints don't win because of him, but he's going to give the Bears everything he's got to show Caleb and his former head coach, Dennis Allen, what they missed out on.
I feel like these Lincoln Riley quarterback face-offs tend to be really fun. Like whenever we've seen them in the past, like with Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, like when those guys are playing each other, it tends to be a lot of fun. And Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler both fit into that, right? Like Spencer Rattler had all the physical talent going into college. He still has that physical talent. He has been through the ringer. He is mentally tougher than he's probably ever been from all that he's been through. Like you said, having to rebuild himself up at South Carolina and being a 5th round pick instead of the 1st round pick he was supposed to be. This guy had a Netflix show the season after Justin Fields was on QB1B on the light, Spencer Rattler was the main guy on it the next season. Like he has been in the spotlight his whole life, and then it was just kind of thrown away. Like, no, this guy stinks now. He got back here. I think that's a really interesting pick, especially like
I think it's great.
Yeah, you hear about the stories about how Caleb Williams became the starter as a freshman at Oklahoma. It's because he was waking up and getting to the facility before Rattler. Rattler was getting there at 6, Caleb was getting there at 5:45 type thing, like, and he was just out trying, like, doing everything he could to outwork him. That spirit of competition is huge, but like also it has to irk Rattler a little bit, and that little extra, like that.
There's that whole soundbite, right, where Caleb was like, "I know I'm better than him. Why is this guy starting over me?" Right? That whole thing is out there for the world, right? And I'm sure Spencer heard it. And Brendan, you're absolutely right. Like if I was Rattler, I'd be like, okay, all right, I've been quiet this whole time. I haven't said a word. I put my work in, and now me and you are here on the same field at the same time, right? Here's my shot. So I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, I like it. And so for mine, I've got 4 names written down, and one of them, first one was Chris Olave. Second one was Demario Davis, just because he's so integral to running a clean defense for them and getting everyone aligned. Like, I don't think he's going to be making a lot of like star plays or a lot of like highlight plays at this point in his career, but he's still really important out there. But that's not enough for me to actually go with him. Carl Granderson is the name to watch. This dude's just a beast. Like he's big, strong, twitchy. Like there's a lot going for Carl Granderson, and but ultimately, I'm going back to the offense side of the ball. I'm going Rashid Shaheed. This dude's a problem. This dude, I mean, he might only get 2 catches in a game, but it's going to be for 100 yards total. And like against, you mentioned Nashawn Wright. I mean, if they're dialing up shot plays to try to target Nashawn Wright, I think Shaheed might be the guy, with Olave being the decoy in a way. So Shaheed is the guy that I'm worried about in this offense of really hurting the Bears, because I think that the best way to hurt the Bears defense is to get some explosive plays, and Shaheed is the guy on this offense that I think can really kill you on those.
That's a good pick. Definitely a little outside the box, but look what we saw last night with Luke McCaffrey. He was their big play threat. They kept Deebo Samuel relatively in check for what he was doing. I know he was hurt, but then you have a big play from Luke McCaffrey, a few of them, and that essentially broke the game open for the Commanders. And so it was those big chunk plays that you have to worry about. And Shaheed, no offense to Luke McCaffrey, Shaheed is way more athletic and way more explosive. And that's definitely a concern there.
His biggest issue in the league has been health. Like whenever he's been healthy, he produces. And go ahead.
Speaking of health, Kyler Gordon last night, right? I mean, he's hopefully going to be fine and ready to go next week. You know, he gave up that play to, I forgot who it was in the end zone on that first touchdown.
Chris Moore, I think.
Chris Moore.
Yeah, Moore. Yeah. How do you think he fits into this defensive matchup here with Cooks and Shaheed? You know, both kind of smaller, faster guys here. Do you think that they have a plan for how they're going to use him? And I guess both of you guys, what did you think of Gordon's return last night? Do you think he's still working through some cobwebs? I didn't know if I really heard his name a ton.
Brendan, do you want to jump first on that?
Yeah, I guess what I expected from Gordon is kind of how he was utilized under Matt Eberflus, and he was less of a cover corner, like covering deep, and more, shallow, spy, watching the line of scrimmage, crashing a little bit more. I didn't see as much of that last night. I saw him drop a little more, and maybe it's also just a part of learning a new defense and playing in a new defense. We have to remind ourselves that the rest of these secondary members, guys like Byard, Brisker, everybody, they've had now 5 games to get accustomed to Dennis Allen's system, because he loves to call a ton of different coverages. Gordon hasn't had that, not even in the preseason. So maybe there was a little uncertainty there. It looked like he was playing a little flat-footed, unsure of maybe who to cover. So I don't think I think it's less of a physical thing and more of just a mental uncertainty. And I'm hopeful that now that he's gotten his feet wet a little bit, he understands how this defense is going to work in a game. Maybe he starts to pick it up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I felt pretty good about what I saw. For like the one play was that was tough, right? Like I think there was a little rust getting knocked off there, the touchdown allowed, but also like that was just a hell of a throw hell of a catch
was
at the
a hell of
same
a throw.
time. I thought he could have played the catch point better, but to me, that's rust. We've seen him play that better. And outside, PFF has him down for 2 catches on 2 targets for 33 yards. So the bulk of that was the 1 touchdown catch. So like on a pure numbers basis, based on what was put out there as his assignments, he did generally fine in my book. And I think that he was kind of like the skeleton key for their defense because he allowed them to play so much differently than we'd seen. And I thought that was a huge key in the first half of the Bears to be able to play these unscouted looks. Like Jaquan Brisker was everywhere.
Yeah.
There was, I don't know if he lined up in the same spot twice on the first few drives. And they couldn't do that when they didn't trust their nickel the way they trusted Kyler to be able to cover some safety responsibility at times. And frankly, I never thought I'd see Jaquan Brisker pressed up on the line of scrimmage in man coverage. And
the secondary did really well against the run last night, actually. All of those guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're right. Like maybe we didn't notice Gordon as much, and I still have to rewatch it. I hate that sucks about the night games on a weekday. But you're right. Like maybe you don't notice Gordon as much, but it also opens up those opportunities for other players. You noticed everyone else, and that is kind of like, a benefit of having Gordon back. I really like that point.
And how it factors into stopping these guys. I think, frankly, I think Kyler's just going to mainly play a slot or a safety role, but I don't think you're asking him to play outside corner at all. I don't think that's in the cards for Kyler. He's proven to be really good in the slot, and Dennis Allen clearly has a specific role for him. So I don't know, maybe you see Brandon Cooks in the slot and Rashid Shaheed some. I was struggling with that. But ultimately, I think they're finding ways to attack Nahshon Wright outside with one of those guys, or to try to get some switch coverages where they're like, okay, now we have him switched on to him, and that's where we want to hit. But with that being said, let's get to our baddest men on the Bears for this week. And Brendan, I'll let you start this one.
All right, maybe it's just overreactionary, and I know the matchup could be tough against him, but I am so impressed with Darnell Wright coming off this game, having a week to heal with his elbow. He was playing. I heard the term inspired football, and I was like, that's a damn good description to say what Darnell Wright was doing, just covering 2 guys at once, pulling at the right time, just being athletic and getting out in space to open up running lanes. That right side of the line was so much more effective than it's been. And I know Granderson can switch sides. He's done that. He's definitely, I'd say, their best defensive lineman. He's going to give Darnell Wright quite a bit of trouble at times. I know the Commanders' pass rush was decent coming in, Durance Armstrong being their best, but once he went out and kind of struggled coming back in a little bit, it just wasn't as effective. I think what the Saints have in terms of with Granderson is better, but what Darnell Wright was providing, if he could just bottle that up and take it back with him to Chicago, play with that next week, that is the definition of a bad man, just doing whatever it takes to create space and bully guys, truly bully them, not only in pass protection, but run blocking. He was their second highest graded PFF offensive lineman behind Joe Thuney, and he only gave up 1 pressure all night. That's super impressive.
Yeah, it was a commendable performance by Wright, and I'm excited to see how he carries that forward to the next one. So I love that pick. I'm never going to argue with the Darnell Wright pick for baddest man, really. But Samir, where are you going with yours?
So I was thinking either Wright or Eggs. I was going to give a shout out to Eggs, but it's maybe a little bit too early to give him baddest man quite yet. So I am going to go with the much scrutinized DeAndre Swift. He's gotten his fair share of criticism, I'd say, on various platforms. But man, after that bye week, he looked like a different guy to me. He was playing with a little bit more confidence. That new offensive line combination was cooking. Swift ran with confidence. And it's not that the Saints, they're kind of a middling run defense, I'd say. They gave about 114 yards per game on the ground. But, you look at like James Cook, he had a very good day when the Bills played against them. And I think he's got probably a similar skill set to Swift. Now his vision is a lot better than Swift's, I guess, but in terms of the things that they do out of the passing game and their shiftiness, I think Swift could have another big day, especially if Wright and, the rest of the offensive line continue that momentum. I think the Bears are going to, as a 6-point favorite, there's going to be a lot of opportunity, I think, to run. And I would look for Swift to probably have another big day on the ground.
Yeah, I like that pick. And I think that, the decisiveness that Swift showed running the football. And I think the run blocking goes a long way with that. Like, I do think the run blocking was significantly improved. But also, I mean, one thing that is really notable to me is, according to PFF, the Saints are one of the worst tackling teams in the NFL. Now, on Pro Football Reference, they're middle of the pack in missed tackles, but their grade for missed tackles, or their grade for tackling on PFF, is awful, and it has been awful every game of the season. So to me, like, for Swift, that speaks loudly of they can get this guy in space and let him try to make guys miss. And for me, for my pick, that's weighing in heavily here. I'm going Luther Burden. If there's one guy on this team that you can get in space and get missed tackles, missed tackles forced, it's Luther Burden III. That guy is shifty. That guy is different, like change of direction ability. And you can feel that there is a big game coming for him here with more volume than we've seen. So to me, I mean, I'm going to be hitting the Luther Burden props for this game.
He caught all 3 targets thrown his way. I mean, and clearly just the most explosive plays outside of what DeAndre Swift is doing. At some point, it is going to click where Luther Burden is going to, start commanding more of the target share. Hopefully it is like we start to see it this week, but it's a really good pick. Both those picks are really good. And it just kind of shows a theme for you guys, like getting those shifty guys who can potentially miss tackles. And in the case of Swift, I will say, I think we maybe want to dial down the hype a little bit, because clearly we see that this guy does better when we shit all over him. So DeAndre Swift, you suck. You're worth nothing. And you should quit football, because I know that works for you.
Yeah, maybe they just need the Troy Aikman motivation. Luther might get some more opportunities though, right? Because DJ is kind of day to day with this groin injury, and he had to stay back in DC. And if his status is kind of questionable, you might see more Luther snaps. So that could play out for us on Sunday.
Yeah, that's part of my logic here as well, as to whether we see any missed time from more, at least a more limited role as he's recovering from whatever it was that happened. But time will tell. We'll see.
Do you guys envision Luther getting an opportunity on the kick and punt returns? And Devin Duvernay has not been super impressive, I would say, thus far. He almost had a fumble the other day. Now it was wet and all that, but I don't know. Do you guys see an avenue for Luther getting on the field in that capacity?
What do you think?
I hope so. I hope so, because Devin Duvernay, I've been very underwhelmed with what he can provide. And I wasn't expecting him to be his 2021, 2022 all-pro self or anything like that. I was just hoping for a little bit more. He has been aggressively mid. Like every time he touches the ball, he's getting anywhere between, he's like getting the ball at the 26-yard line almost every single time. So, and maybe like Burton just isn't getting enough opportunities to kind of start establishing himself. So, and we've heard Hightower talk about it quite a bit in the preseason and even the regular season. Like, this guy's a weapon. Give your best playmakers a chance with the ball in their hands. Yeah. So I'm really hopeful that he overtakes Duvernay, because I just don't see that getting better anytime soon.
Yeah. And my main question here with this, and I looked it up and found the answer, was like, how much did he return punts in college? Because that's always huge to me, right? Like a punt, like a kick is like, I put anyone back there return the kick as long as they're not Bayless Jones. I trust that they'll be able to figure it out, because there's only so much complication to it, right? Catch ball, run ball. With the punt, your eyes are here, your eyes are here, your eyes are here, your eyes are here. Yeah. And you need to think about, am I fair catching? The ball's right there, defender's there. Do I have enough room? Do I need a fair catch? Like, there's a lot of, so I need guys with experience returning punts. He's done it a fair amount. He had, let's see here, 24 punt returns in college, which means he probably had a lot more that were fair catches. But so, like, to me, that's a guy who did it just fine. So, like, at that point, I'm fine giving him the chance to return either of them. Like, I don't have an issue with either, really, unless DJ's really down and he becomes a more key element of the offense. Then I'm like, well, let's keep some gas in the tank there for offense then.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with both of you guys.
Yeah, I will say quickly, when it does come to punt returns, we do know how things went a few years ago with Bayless Jones, Tyler Scott, not knowing even when to do a fair catch, when to let the ball bounce. I mean, it got to a point where we were just happy that they had somebody who knew what to do, like with DeAndre Carter back in the day. So I do worry about that a little bit, the mental aspect, like Q, you were saying, not only just locating the ball, but understanding when he should actually fair catch it versus return it versus let it bounce. And that could, I mean, really back up an offense if you just don't know what you're doing. So at the very least, Devin Duvernay has that experience and has that mental capacity. But you don't know if you don't try.
Yeah.
And he doesn't provide a ton of value on offense anyway, right? So it's like he's just there to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Well, let's get to our next segment here.
The nicest man.
All right. Tossing it to you first, Brendan. Is DeAndre Swift your nicest man, or do you have someone else?
I should make him my nicest man. He's a nice guy.
Motivation.
Motivation. This is actually a really good segue. I'm glad we started with the Bears. This is my guy. I really like this guy, but in terms of like a football player and just what he can bring to the table. But I'm down on Olamide Zaccheaus. And, talking about chances for Luther Burden, we'll see what happens with him. But, I mean, Zaccheaus tied for the team lead in targets last night. He's supposed to be Caleb's security blanket. He catches only 2 of those 4 targets, had that big drop where, I mean, we saw the amount of room that he had to work with. I understand it was wet, but the ball hit him in the freaking chest, man. Like, as a receiver, there's no excuse for you to not come up with that. Even if you stumble a little bit and maybe get like 10 to 15 yards versus, going the distance. He seemed out of place on certain routes. I don't know if he's just, freelancing a little bit or just not on the same page as Caleb. But again, like this guy all throughout training camp, I saw it. A lot of other people saw it. He was that security blanket for Caleb and this offense. And guys, when I was growing up, I had a security blanket of my own, and that thing got tattered to shreds. I loved it so much. It was not like you wouldn't have even guessed it resembled a blanket anymore. And that just feels like what Zaccheaus is at this point. Like he's doing everything except what he's supposed to be doing and being a reliable, like third down receiver who can move the chains. He's costing them crucial yards and having, just a few bad drops. So I wonder how much he's going to play a role in this offense going forward. I do think, everybody's been talking about, all right, when does the switch flip to Luther Burden getting more snaps than him, especially in the slot and, seeing what his skill set can do. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm just really down in Zaccheaus, unfortunately. And it sucks because I was really excited what he could provide. And it just hasn't shown itself, especially lately.
Yeah, and I think one of the tough things with like Burden overtaking his role is that I think Zaccheaus has the most option routes in this offense, right? The most sight adjustments as a route runner, saying, I'm seeing this, so that means I do this instead of that. And he needs to see it the same way as the quarterback all the time. And that's one of the things that makes Ben Johnson's offense so deadly. But his role in this offense has the most of those, more than like Rome and DJ are expected to, by my understanding, which makes it tough for a rookie to jump in there and figure out all those side adjustments at the same time. So I'm interested to see how that progresses here, because I'm also, when I think about this and I'm like, well, if DJ wanted that, he could do it. Right?
Yeah.
Like DJ fits a slot receiver archetype really easily. He's not boxed into it, but he'd be really good in the slot. And like if he, put the work in, put the time, and not to say that he doesn't, but like he could figure out those side adjustments just as well as Zacchaeus, I would think. So like I'm interested to see how they build from here if Zacchaeus isn't finding ways to make more of that impact, which, I wasn't upset with him the first handful of games, but that drop last night just really hurt. And there were those few miscommunications going on that are kind of like making me start to question it now, like you said.
Well, if you talk to Troy, it was a really bad throw that was too high on the pads. It's just ridiculous. But I feel you on that one, Brendan. I mean, I think I saw somewhere that Caleb actually has the worst QBR when targeting Zacchaeus out of, the 5 pass catchers or whatever that are on the team. So the two of them did look a little off sync in terms of like Zacchaeus should have kept running on some of these yak throws that looked like he kind of had to stretch or was maybe not. They didn't seem like they were totally in sync most of that night last night.
Yeah, and for those plays especially, like you don't know partly is on the quarterback, it's partly in the receiver, but I mean like the drops, especially when like you point out, I love that you pointed that out, that he is the lowest targeted receiver in terms of passer rating, and somebody like Luther Burden is the highest. That's a problem especially for that role.
No.
Now, Samir, where are you going for your nicest man on the Bears?
So, I try not to couple my nicest man with the baddest man on the Saints because it's a little redundant. So I'm going to give Nahshon Wright a pass here, even though he could be the nicest man and somebody I would target if I was Kellen Moore. I'm going to go with something similar to what Brendan did, just a different position. That's going to be Mr. Cole Kmet. He came off a very disappointing game against the Raiders. And, I don't have the run blocking chops that you do, Q. So, couldn't really grade or look at that from that standpoint. But again, largely ineffective in the passing game. I mean, he did have that great catch and bullied his way to a first down, but he's losing snaps on offense to Colston Loveland, who is starting to get more and more involved. And I think it's only going to be a matter of time before that flips. And it's not, it's 55-45 now in Colston's favor. And I think it's probably going to start happening sooner rather than later. And it wouldn't surprise me if in the Saints game, Loveland does get his first touchdown, right? And now Kmet is kind of coming in as your blocking tight end. And he's like, wait a minute, am I Payne Durham all of a sudden? Or like, what happened to me? So I guess it's not really maybe more of a nice guy for this particular game. I just kind of see this pattern happening with Cole here.
Yeah. And I mean, that's fair, I think. Like, I mean, he was very good in run blocking yesterday, I thought. Very key to a lot of what they were doing. But, like, that doesn't speak at all to his threat as a pass catcher, though. Like, to your point, he is kind of turning into Durham Smythe as long as Colston Loveland is available.
That's what I meant. Not Payne Durham. Yeah.
Payne Durham's a great tight end name.
Yeah, I meant
Durham Smythe's a great tight end name. Like, they all come together. But like I agree with you. I expect Loveland to become the bigger threat here as a pass catcher. And I mean, truly to this year, I don't know that Kmet has many more targets than Loveland, even though Loveland missed multiple games. Like that's why maybe just that Raiders game where Kmet struggled on a bunch of targets. Like I'm not sure what his role is as a pass catcher in this offense, even if his role as a blocker is very clearly defined.
I do wonder. So everybody's been at some point, everybody's been very critical of what Cole Kmet can do. And I've been one of those folks who I've been impressed with how he's developed as a route runner and a pass catcher since coming into the league. 2023 looked a lot different than 2020 and 2021. But I got to tell you, it almost looks like he's reverted back to kind of like what he was doing in the early years. He doesn't look like a smooth route runner right now. I don't know if he's dealing with something, but you just kind of see a slower, less athletic tight end. And maybe that is the Colston Loveland effect as well, because he is just that much more athletic. And especially for a rookie being as refined of a route runner as he is already. But I just do not see the same Cole Kmet that we saw in 2023 when he was able to run a pretty good route tree. And maybe it was just because there weren't as many options and he's not being asked to do as much, but I don't know. I see him regressing in that standpoint as a pass catching tight end. And even if his run blocking is getting better.
Yeah. I think I have a wager or a guess as to why he's not looking as athletic as he did, and that is simple. I think he's heavier in a good way. Like I think he's bulked up. I think that he knew his role coming into this season was very much to be a blocker, and the offense told him, "We need you to build those hurting bombs. You know, we need you to be up in people and being able to hold up against a defensive end as a run blocker and stuff like that." And that's the previous years, like you said, Brendan, when he was like becoming more and more of an impressive route runner, he was slimming down every offseason. And so like I think he's heavier now, and I think it's purposeful weight. But for me, man, for my nicest man, I mean, I was expecting Nahshon Wright to already be taken, so I can go Nahshon Wright. It's kind of a broken record at this point, but like they need to find a better answer out there. I don't know if Jalen Jones is ever going to be coming back here. Like that would be a very welcome sight, I think, to help this defense. But my backup here, if I didn't get Nahshon Wright, was as much as like it's kind of counter to everything that's being said, is Theo Benedict. I still need more proof. I think he's done a nice job. There were 1 or 2 reps yesterday where he got, run through like a Mack truck going right through him. And I don't think that's something that's going to get a lot easier against bigger, more powerful rushers that you're going to see in New Orleans. So this is a big test game for him in my mind. Like the rushers for Washington were not the level of weight, mass, power that New Orleans rushers are. So like I'm expecting them to really give him a challenge, and I need him to not be the nicest man for the Bears in this game, but he's the guy I'm the most concerned about, I guess, outside of Nahshon Wright.
Would you say Theo Benedict cannot crack?
Eggs can't crack. Eggs got to scramble some people, man. But let's go ahead and get to the nicest guys on the Saints. And Samir, I'll toss this one to you first.
Yeah. So we talked about earlier the Saints offensive line, how they're kind of young, mean, and nasty a little bit. There's one guy in particular, though, that I feel like can get got, and that's Cesar Ruiz. And maybe, obviously, Q, you can probably chime in here, but I think he's actually struggled the most out of all the offensive linemen on that line so far. I looked up his PFF pass blocking grade, and it's 45.4, which ranks him at 94th out of 106 players in the NFL. And I think coming off what we just saw with the defensive line, Big Dex had a sack and a half on Jaden Daniels. They actually got pretty good pressure on him. Now he's very slippery, and Jaden, made him look like fools sometimes, but you might not get that with Rattler, right? I think if they can carry that momentum, and especially if Dex can have another pretty big game, I think Cesar Ruiz could be somebody, if that PFF grade holds up, that they could take advantage of.
Yeah, I think Cesar Ruiz is a center who's been playing guard for 6 years now. Like he was a center in college. He was drafted to be a center, and they took him. And I think the next year they were like, well, we can't pass an Eric McCoy. One of these guys can play guard, and ended up being Cesar Ruiz out of guard. And he's never really lived up to the draft billing that he had, because I think I've always thought he's a center. I mean, I can't actually sit here and say I know more than an NFL front office and coaching staff from that front, but like the pass blocking numbers do hash that out to a degree, that this is not a guy who really makes a lot of sense in pass pro at guard. In the run game, he's got value there, but like I agree with you. I think that he's a guy who can be beat and can be targeted. But Brendan, where are you going for your nicest guy on the Saints?
All right, I'm going a little off the board here as well for this one with the Saints. But look, Chicago, things can get windy. We saw wind conditions, weather conditions definitely impacted special teams. I'm going Blake Grupe, the Saints kicker. I don't know if you guys have realized, Grupe kind of sucks this year, like really bad. He rebounded last week going 4 for 4 against the Patriots, but he has a field goal percentage of 73.7 this year. He is he's missed 2 kicks or he's only 1 of 3 from between 40 and 49 yards. And this Sunday, I know the weather can change, but there could be wind gusts up to 20 miles an hour. And I know the Soldier Field is very difficult to kick in, especially for somewhat inexperienced kickers. This guy kind of sucks right now. And I think with some of the kicking luck that the Bears have had, I should say luck, because it definitely is skill, especially with special teams is doing. But I could definitely see this guy missing at least one kick and potentially even like a significant one that could turn the tides of the game.
Brendan, it was Brandon Groupie.
Wait, did I say Blake? I thought it was Blake Groupie.
Is it Blake? I might have gotten my eggs scrambled there. Blake Groupie. If you told me that was a Madden created player, I would have believed you. I did not know Blake Groupie existed before today.
He kind of looks like a creative player. Like, look at that guy.
Oh yeah, he does.
But I mean, I like the pick. Soldier Field
That's
is different.
great.
But for me, let's see. I had a few written down here. Let's see. It's my notes. So first, I considered Alontae Taylor. I considered Isaac Yiadom. Basically, all their cornerbacks, I think, can be beaten. Kool-Aid McKinstry has allowed the 4th most yards among any cornerback in the NFL this year, according to PFF. But ultimately, my baddest man was based on missed tackles for the Bears. My nicest man for the Saints is going to be based on missed tackles. Jonas Sanker has missed 8 tackles this season in 6 games. And that's a guy who I'm trying to get in space one-on-one with a playmaker. So to me, Jonas Sanker has to be the nicest man. He's played fairly well for him outside of that, but the missed tackles are a real problem for him so far in his NFL career. He's a rookie out of Virginia, I believe. I liked his college tape. He can make plays, but it's a double-edged sword. You got to finish the tackles, and he struggled with it. So that's my nicest man for the Saints.
Yeah, it's a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then let's get to our final segment.
Real quick, I do want to shout out to the two of us for our nicest man awards last year last week with Marshawn Lattimore and Quan Martin, who were both responsible for the 55-yard DeAndre Swift touchdown there. So props to us for calling out the nicest men.
Way to do some self-scouting, Samir. I forget to self-scout these all the time. And I love it. I love hearing that.
Got to give ourselves props, man, because we're wrong a lot.
All right, let's get to these keys to victory.
Keys to victory.
All right, I'm going to toss this one to Samir first. Samir, do you have any thoughts on a key to victory for this game?
Yeah, so I got one for the offense and one for the defense. So the offense, it's pretty simple. If we're the better team, 6-point favorites, just don't turn the ball over, right? If you're going against a team that's worse than you, don't give them extra possessions. I think if you keep the chains moving, the Saints are allowing almost 70% completion for opposing quarterbacks. You keep the chains moving. You don't make dumb mistakes. You don't give them extra possessions. You score on yours. I think that's pretty easy key to victory. Sorry, did I freeze a little bit? I apologize.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. And then for the defense, put the Saints into 3rd and longs. They currently have a conversion rate, 3rd down conversion rate, about 37%, which is like 21st in the league. So I think if you keep them in those 3rd downs, 3rd and longs, Rattler's not flashy. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes. So, just try to make him make a play, I think, on those 3rd and longs. And, the numbers say that it'll work out in your favor. So
yeah,
that's what I got.
You can even make the argument just getting to 3rd down. Like this is the 21st ranked 3rd down offense in the NFL from a conversion rate aspect. So like it's something they've struggled with to a degree. So I like that one. Brendan, do you have any thoughts on some keys to victory?
Yeah, kind of building off of what Samir said. One, I love the opening script of the games. I think Ben Johnson is doing a phenomenal job of pulling something together that works well and leading to scoring drives. However, the Bears need to start converting in the red zone. I'm really starting to get sick of these, chip shot field goal attempts and, things going haywire on 2nd and 3rd downs. And, leaving points on the board. Thankfully, they were able to overcome it the last 2 times they played. Excuse me, because we saw it many times against the Raiders as well as the Commanders. Start converting to the red zone. Start trusting your big targets to make plays, and just just don't go backwards. It just feels like the offense works really. It's been very smooth overall for the last few weeks, but just something breaks, whether it's a bad penalty, a breakdown, bad sack, you name it, and they're leaving points on the board. Defensively, I want this to be a Dennis Allen masterclass, and I say this knowing that Cowboys fans probably wanted Matty Eberflus to do the same thing against the Bears a few weeks ago, and hey, look how that went. But Dennis Allen does know this personnel very, very well. I've been very impressed with just the different disguises and coverages that he's thrown. If you look across just the different man zone, cover 2, cover 3s that teams are running, Dennis Allen almost has I shouldn't say an even split across the board, but it's definitely mixed in. Whereas other teams, Cowboys, just do the same thing over and over and expect the same results. So I want Dennis Allen to confuse Spencer Rattler, confuse this offense, and really throw him just interesting looks, kind of like what we saw as the Commanders game went on, because we definitely saw a lot more unique looks in the second half versus the first half. And finally, as you guys probably know, I'm a big history fan in terms of trends and things that have happened. For the love of God, please stop the losing streak. The Bears have the longest losing streak, I believe, of any against any team that they do against the Saints. They've lost. I don't have it up in front of me right now, but they have not won over the last 15 years, basically. It's been an insane losing streak, even when the Saints teams are atrocious after Drew Brees and versus backup quarterbacks. Enough is enough. End the streak, end the skid, and beat the New Orleans Saints for the first time in the 2010s, 2020s. I cannot believe this losing streak has gone on so long.
Yeah, fun fact, you can type in any 2 NFL team names and just the word rivalry, and it'll take you to a website called the Football Database that has every matchup between those 2 teams. Bears have lost 8 straight against the Saints. Last time they beat them was in overtime in 2008. So we're talking Lovey era. That's not good.
No.
17 years.
Yeah. But so for me, for my key, it kind of falls in somewhat with what you were saying there, Brendan. It's just hit the layups. Hit the easy stuff. A lot of that comes down to just conversion, like to Caleb's completion percentage. Caleb hitting the guys where they're supposed to be, those guys being where they're supposed to be. Some of that's Caleb's footwork. Some of that is the option routes hitting where they're supposed to be. Maybe there needs to be some simplification on some of that stuff. But like you said, Samir, this is a game the Bears are supposed to win. Mm-hmm. You do the easy stuff, you should win this football. You do the easy stuff and you show good fight and execution in the run game, like those 3 things to me, you're going to win this football game. So hitting the easy stuff that's my biggest thing this week. But do you guys have a score prediction for this game? Starting with Samir.
Well, I think it's actually going to be closer than the spread. I think it's natural to come off have a little bit of a letdown after that Commanders game, despite what anybody in that locker room tells you. For those guys, it was kind of personal, right? And so I think there's probably going to be a little letdown. I do think the Bears win, but I think it's another nail biter. I think it's probably a 3-point game, kind of late. So I'm going to go with a 30-27 Bears win.
Okay, Brendan, what are your thoughts?
I was thinking about that too. Matchup wise, I do think this could be a little bit closer than people think. Bears are also coming off a short week, and sample size is extremely small. But the last time the Bears came off a short week, they got their ass handed to them, going to Detroit and losing by 1 billion points. So I don't think that's going to happen this time. But I will say this team is playing inspired football, and they believe in one another. They believe in the system. They believe in the coaching staff, and that's a powerful thing. Because even when things go wrong, you get the wrong you get the bad calls. You're playing in bad conditions. You're dealing with injuries. You still find a way to pull it out. And I just think this is going to be that measuring stick game where the Bears now are kind of on people's radars, and they're going to lay down the hammer. I think it's going to be like 27-20. I do want to see how the injury report comes out, because as you guys mentioned, DJ Moore not being out there, the guy's an Iron Man. And I think even when he doesn't get the ball, he's so critical to what they do and to what they can run on offense, even if he's just like a decoy and pulling defenders away from other receivers. So I do think that is something we have to watch, but I think the Bears are going to win fairly convincingly, even if it's just by 7 points. And they're really going to start turning some heads as a potential playoff contender going forward.
Yeah. So I have like 5 different models that I use to like create like a try to handicap games like this. And they're all over the place. They don't know what to do with the numbers from these two teams. Like one of them has the Bears a 3-point favorite, one of them a 1-point favorite, 1.5. And then the other two have Bears being a 10-point favorite. And then one has the Bears being a 17-point favorite. So
oh my gosh.
It's a very mixed
Oh my
bag.
gosh.
What is
they
that
all
model?
agree. They all agree the total is going to be around 48.
Oh, okay.
So do with that what you will. I'm going to go like Bears 28, Saints 20, I think.
Okay.
Saints get like a get in the back door at the end to get it up to 20. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this show, for previewing the Saints. Why don't you guys let everyone know, starting with Brendan, where they can find you?
Sure thing. You can follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky. I don't post on Blue Sky enough, but mostly on Twitter at Brendan Sugrue. That's SUGRUE. Make sure you check out my work at bearswire.com. I'm going to have my takeaways coming tomorrow morning from the Commanders game as we turn the page. And we'll just have more coverage leading up to the Saints game.
And Samir?
Great. Yeah. So Samir Patel, I'm with OnTap Sportsnet, so you can find my work there. I always post my articles and repost a lot of the OnTap stuff at SMPatel06 on Twitter. Also do my own pod, Bears in the Neighborhood. We just recorded earlier today, so that should be coming out soon on YouTube and Spotify, so you can find it there. And check out the Bear Essentials, which is a weekly article I do on OnTap Sportsnet, kind of going over some quick takeaways from the game and doing a little game ball handout. So yeah, thanks, Q.
All right, gentlemen, why don't we close this thing out the only way we know how, with the good old bear down, and we'll get out of here.
All right, bear down. Let's
Bear
go.
down, baby.
Bear down.